So welcome to our latest podcast, Focus 24/7. My name's Joel Kirkland. I'm part of the leadership team of Focus Cloud. So a bit about me, I've been in the Workday ecosystem for 2 years. I've been in recruitment for 23 years now, and I run a global team specializing solely in Workday. And the episode is called Wellbeing and Workday. I'm really pleased to be introducing our latest guest, Angela Schroeder, who is a wellbeing expert and a Workday expert. So Angela, welcome. Please tell us a bit about yourself and your Workday journey, firstly.
Hi Joel, thank you for the invitation to begin with. I'm delighted to be talking to you today. So my Workday journey began in 2014. I was headhunted by Colin Forth to be one of their instructors.
Okay.
Prior to that, I'd had a gap in my career to have my boys, who are now 15 and 10.
Cool.
And I'd had a 12-odd year contract and employment in the Workday field, in the Workday and PeopleSoft field. So PeopleSoft was the beginning, headhunted into Workday, and then the rest is the journey where we come to today.
Sure.
So instructing in Amsterdam for a year, then for personal reasons, I had to be back in London to be back with my boys. So sadly, I left Workday and I joined the team at Cloud. So Cloud was very much a learning platform back into the consultancy world. And this is where the tool set of the well-being came in for me.
Okay.
Even throughout my PeopleSoft career, I've been interested in yoga and meditation and keeping my body supple from the hours that you have to sit as somebody that's done coding or managing a team. And then through this, I learned skills outside of the workplace that I began to bring into the workplace. So this is what kept me ticking along through the learning journey at Cloud, which became
Sure.
Aon.
Okay,
I then
yeah.
spent some time on a contract for PwC on an advisory basis for them. And then I took a bit of a gap and went off to India to do some more teacher training, something called Prana Kriya Yoga and Himalayan Hatha Yoga meditation. So yeah, so these are things that I've been doing every day as my own daily practice, my own routines to sort of help me through the learning process, through personal life, through learning something new. These systems are complex, as we all know as Workday consultants. The exams are challenging to get through. We have lots and lots of client engagement, manager engagement. And for me, wellness helps me to connect to myself so that I can connect to my teams and connect to others. So then after PwC, I was headhunted to Accenture, and I'm delighted that they asked me to run a wellbeing program for them. So we had a year-long program there, which consisted of a digital detox. Everything that we did wasn't tech related at all. So we had a talk a month, we'd have an activity, and people had the chance to learn something new that was related to their health. We did physical activity, not just yoga, something called Prana Kriya, jumping up and down. I have had comments since then, saying that was crazy what we did. And in an open plan office, it was all a bit crazy. So there are some very funny memories that we have from that time. But yeah, that I was delighted to have been asked to help them there. So it's the experience sometimes of doing something that you might not really understand that is what wellness can be. So implementing some change into your life, trying something new. So then after the Accenture experience, I was headhunted to HR Path, which is where I'm now a project manager. And as project manager, when I go in to teams, designing and looking at either teaching or running design workshops, I will bring in some of these wellbeing elements without people really knowing what they're doing. So again, as I've said, it might include some movement, it might mean standing up, closing the eyes, doing certain breath techniques, walking around the room. And you will be amazed at how you can use your voice to actually help people to start to speak up in an environment where perhaps they might have felt inhibited, that they weren't heard or shouldn't be heard or couldn't say what they wanted to say. So wellbeing is a lot more than what people perceive it to be in the market right now. And that sort of segues into our next point of, Workday and products that Workday are using, like Peakon, where we're asked to fill in surveys, which are amazing. we get client feedback, we get our employees' feedback, but what happens when our wellness isn't there and we don't feel like feeding back at that moment in time? So for me, wellness is that aspect of, are we connected to ourselves enough to feel that we can connect to others?
Sure. Excellent. Okay, what a great introduction. Thank you so much for that. So, tongue in cheek, but besides jumping up and down, what is well-being, Angela? Give us a bit of a high-level overview about what it actually is.
Well-being, so mental and emotional health is really important,
Sure.
both in the workplace and at home with our families and with our friends. So as I'd mentioned before, if we're in a stressful environment, wherever that may be, we become disconnected to how we feel in our body. You know, we may have so much adrenaline driving us to push us towards our goals and our KPIs that we disconnect physically. So it's a physical awareness as well as that mental and emotional awareness.
Okay.
So that daily check-in is what, you know, Peakon and Workday do with the tool sets, you know, through movement, health, nutrition, and happiness, through motivation, but to actually put those things into action through contact. So managerial contact with your teams on a daily basis. Wellness in the workplace is that connection. So my personal journey is to teach people techniques that they can take away and use themselves. Okay. So every day at 6:30, I run a live meditation on an app. It's 20 minutes, but you can dip in and out. You can watch it later. You know, using the breath, learning a simple tool like meditation to create some space in your head. You breathe through the thoughts come and go. When you're busy, when you're on a schedule, actually sometimes just switching off and just being in that moment, in that present moment, is what you need to then pick up again and put all your ducks in a row, so to speak, and carry on in your day. So wellness for me is physical, emotional, and mental connection through the breath, through connecting to the body.
Wow. Okay. Cool. Fantastic topic. So tell us more about the tools. You mentioned Peakon and Workday. Tell us a bit more about what you can do with these technologies.
Well, as project manager at HR Path, I've been looking at, and they have asked me to look at some options for employee engagement. So we've had conversations with Peakon. We also had conversations with Stripe, it's another company, and these are through questionnaires. So they can be put in place either weekly or monthly or at your choice. And they are designed to start to get the employee feedback, the engagement. And then from that, you get a dashboard of information with the sentient data. So if you're an employee that anonymously likes to give feedback, you'll then feel heard, because managers can then comment on these questionnaires that you filled in. Okay. And then you can know as a team member, oh, actually, I am being listened to. So it is worth filling these things in. And then those insights from that sentient information is taken and put into driving meaningful change going forwards. I am an advocate for this as a first point, but through my personal journey through wellness, I think there needs to be another level to that. So after you've collected all this information, after you've talked to people about their goals, what they want to do, what it means to be part of their company, it's connection. So taking the camera off, putting camera on, or getting face to face, and if we can't right now, then going and meeting somewhere. Sure. Actually starting to connect again since COVID, since we've been disconnected and not been allowed in the same room or within 2 meters of each other. It's finding that space to actually get to know each other again. Because I think if people have had emotional and mental issues, that they may not be aware of them. And it might be that they think, oh, why do I have to fill in this questionnaire? I don't want to fill in the questionnaire. So from a wellbeing point of view, I want those people to be engaged. Those are the ones that slip through the net. And for me, as a wellness model, I want to make sure that I've gathered everybody's information and that everybody's had a chance to feedback. And if they are not engaging in questionnaires, that there is a method that we can connect in.
Sure. Okay, cool, good stuff. So let's talk about kind of busy workday projects and deployments then. It's high pressure, there's deadlines, there's lots going on. What would your advice be to somebody who's involved in that? How are they going to look after themselves?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good point. You know, especially if it's a project, something like launch, where it's quick and it's fast. You know, we all know the methodology as Workday consultants to have your own, as an individual of being a consultant, to encourage your team as a manager, encouraging each of your employees to have their own practice. So either give them access to meditate every day, encourage them to have a daily routine. So keep hydrated, make sure you're getting up and moving, you know, every half an hour, you know, set reminders on your phone, you know, put stickers on the top of your screen, make sure you're sitting comfortably. So, you know, breath work, physical movement, hydration. You know, are you eating well? If you know you're going to have a really busy day, can you prepare that up front? Can you ask someone to come in and do that for you? Making sure that you've managed the process around the process itself. So we're all very busy, and myself as a project manager included, in, you know, going through our checklist. You know, everything is checklist. Has this done? Is this done? Is it time for a DA check? Wow, actually, is it time to breathe? You know, so for me, it's okay, you know, having done all of this for, you know, 20 plus years in my career, you know, and we're all driven in what we're doing, it's very easy to get stuck into an issue, and so then, you know, 2 hours, 3 hours to have gone by and you haven't even moved. So setting those reminders to get up and move and have a drink would be my first point of call.
Okay.
Outside of that, I have a concept where I have a team of people to come in along the stages of the methodology, and those would be in a separate room, and they would be there to motivate your team. So they'll come in, they'll do some facilitation with managers, they'll help everybody engage in a different way, a bit like icebreakers. And we have fun tools and techniques and breath work. Also, there can be a hands-on element once we are allowed back into the office. You know, when you know that you're going to do your data conversion, for example, you're going to be really stiff and sore, we can have teams come in to help you move and to help to actually relieve your body in that way. But that's another conversation, probably for about mid-time next year when we're actually allowed to do this, Joel. So, but yeah. And how this integrates into my life is that where I have gone in and out of that process and how it's affected me physically in my early PeopleSoft days, through traveling for long hours to get to Reading, Pleasanton, you know, family life, you know, I burnt out, you know, at that point.
Okay.
Something called IBS. I found that reflexology was something that helped me. It helped to relax my body. And I became a reflexologist, and I'm really proud to say that I've been on the board of the British Reflexology Association for about 15 years now. And so I know that there are natural ways to help to heal the body, to help us to relax, to help us to connect to ourselves. And these tools are things that I can actually teach. You can do some of these on your hands. I'm also a trustee of a charity where we help amputees through movement, yoga, and through self-help techniques. So it's not just a workday thing. It's a wellness for everyone. Everybody can take time to breathe. You know, when people say I don't have time, you know, that is not an excuse. You can get up earlier. You know, before I did all of this, yes, I would have been one of those people saying, oh, you know, I don't have time. But actually, having been through the journey and learning a very traditional way of connecting, you can get up earlier. You can set that phone or, you know, clock next to the bed for 10 minutes earlier, sit at the end of the bed, start the day with 10 minutes, closing your eyes and breathing. You can do the same with your teams, start the day or start a meeting. Don't have to be a breath work. It could be an exercise. It could be making some sound whilst you're doing some particular movements. And yeah, I mean, I could talk all day, as you could tell. So, you know, I think I'll stop there. But, you know, I think managing the process around the process with some physical movement and with a team of people that know how to help you do that and to integrate and look towards putting a new culture in place on top of our company culture. So, and that's, you know, around culture itself. So like a wellness at work culture.
Sure, got it. Okay, no, great insight. So let's talk about what good looks like. So, for an individual or for a company wanting to roll out a wellbeing program, or really wanting to care better for their employees, or someone to care better for themselves, what advice would you give, Angela?
What does good look like? That's a really good question, because I think if you're in a position where your mental health is being challenged, you won't know what good looks like. I think if you can have a conversation with your manager and then say to you, okay, so what's your energy like today? Are you a 10 being like really, motivated, or are you a 1? Well, actually, you don't really feel like doing much today. I don't want to get out of bed, and I know ratings sound very much like questionnaires, but to have a conversation with someone, if you weren't comfortable and didn't know them very well, you can start with that question. So what does good look like? And it's like, well, give me a number, 1 to 10. How do you feel right now? Are you comfortable talking to me about this? You've got to build that rapport. You've got to, connect with people, not just on the work side itself. How are you doing? How's the family? Um, and without sounding overly friendly at the same time, because then you don't want to come across as being too forwards. But it's just like, how's your sleep right now? Do you get, are you finding that, that you're moving around and looking good, looking into each other's eyes on the screen? We have these cameras. This isn't too great, this one, but, look, eye contact itself is so important. It improves our social behavior and our belonging to each other. And I think, and I do this myself. I won't have the camera on. I'll be, listening to a meeting, and I might be making a cup of tea, so I'll turn the camera off, and it's like, am I really present? So what does good look like? It means asking somebody what their energy levels are. It means connecting eye to eye, that social contact. It means being present. And are you totally authentically present in what you're doing in that moment? Whereas our mind might be whirring to okay, well, I'm listening to Joel. He's asking me a question. Am I really listening, or am I thinking about what I'm going to say next?
Sure.
So to take time, and putting that time in place, being present, is all you need. And that, for me, is what good looks like. And then you will feel the feedback. You can't feel feedback on a questionnaire. You have to feel that feedback face to face. So that, for me, is what good looks like.
That's great, and that's really simple. So I was half expecting you to say lots of stuff and come up with strategic ideas, but that's so straightforward. And I think it's just about being organised, having the time and space to focus on it, understanding the signs. Something I'll ask you about in a minute, in terms of how do we then start to think about, well, what if people are not okay? What can we do? How can we help them? I run a team. I've got 8 in my team. It's growing. And one of my main concerns is everybody okay? Is everyone feeling good? Are we doing the right things? Are we supporting people in the right way? So it'd be great to pick your brains on that one.
Yeah, and there are strategies that can be put in place on top of the simple stuff, of course. But I'm building a team of people that can come in and deal with those questions themselves. So there's lots on the NHS websites.
Okay.
I have contact with people that have been trained in these methods that can come in and talk to your teams. If it's something that you feel that you can't do as a manager yourself, obviously, so in our environments, I remember being in a building when I was at work once upon a time, and we'd have the occupational therapy room next door, or down in the basement of the building, or there is a time and a place where sometimes things need to be private, away from our team and our managers. So, and again, with systems in place, this can fall through the net. So that would be another strategy that I would put in place, to give people an awareness of where they can go to talk to someone, or having a team like something like what I'm talking about, to come in and help you with that process. And the difficulty comes, I think, where people feel that if they say their truth, that it's going to go against them.
Sure.
And I think this is what I wanted to impress about the systems, is that they do really want your engagement, and it's not going to be you know, it's not going to come back at you like a stick. You know, they're not shaking a stick at you saying fill in this questionnaire or else. But there may be a mindset behind that. And I think in having people come to you to help you to build your team as a manager, you can put that strategy in place in having people to help you to ask the right questions through mental health, getting connected again, team building activities. I mean, you know, I'm showing my age now, but, you know, back in the day when I sort of started out my journey in IT, I remember so many team building activities. You know, we'd get out, I remember a PeopleSoft couple of weekends we go tank driving, or we would go sailing, you know, after a conference. You know, we are not getting to conferences, you know, the Workday conferences are epic, as you know. But, you know, from a wellness point of view, there's a lot of alcohol flowing through all these things. Actually, that's not really great for your immune system, because if we're talking about being healthy and keeping our immune system strong because of COVID, what we can do is have a healthier way of getting together. So bringing people to you to address your teams when we can't get together as a whole body of PeopleSoft consultants. And not saying that, you know, nobody should drink, you know, but actually bear in mind that if you consume too much food, alcohol, you are going to suppress your immune system. So when I talk about wellness, I'm bringing in a wealth of wellness and true health to improve your immunity. Okay. So, and also it'll be better on the bank balance at the end of the day. There won't be such a big bar bill, and you can still have fun. You can still have just as much fun. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know about our famous track days, so we actually had one yesterday, believe it or not. So I feel like that's good. It gives you a bit of headspace. Obviously, going fast is exhilarating, but also the in-between times, just being out in the fresh air was amazing, and kind of moving to what we talk about being new normal. You know, we actually went to a restaurant and sat opposite each other and had a conversation, not about work and not over alcohol, you'll be pleased to hear. Because most of us were driving, so it was just water and lemonade that was consumed. But yeah, no, I totally get it. I think it's really important, and the mental health aspect, certainly over the past 18 months, has been such a big thing. I know we have a company counsellor that is available to anybody that needs to talk, and we've got lots of flexibility. We let people work from home, we let people kind of flex their time. We're very supportive if people have got personal problems, which of course they often do. So it'd be good to understand from you, Angela, about the mental side of things, you know, your tips about preserving mental health, mental wellness, you know, seeing the signs, anything you can share with us on that one.
Yeah, I think very much so. It's keeping in contact, you know, from the point of view of bringing a group of managers together and facilitate them through helping them change their way of being so that they're serving their teams. So it's those people that, you know, their personalities are going to come into it as well, but you know that they're a bright, vibrant extrovert, and then all of a sudden they're really quiet. And that's the obvious things in place. But those who are already quiet and more introverted, which they often can be in this IT industry, to have a way of engaging. And that's going to be through, you know, picking up the phone, or jumping on a Zoom call or a Teams call, but switching the camera on and actually looking at them. You know, I think that we, as I said before, this eye contact is so important at this moment. And so in doing so, we're serving our teams. So it's changing the way we look at management itself. So of course we still have to get the work done. You know, if people aren't performing in the way that they normally would, and they normally do, that's another thing to look out for. So, okay, why have they not clocked in today? Sure. And with people working at home, we have a level of trust in place, and we'll know certainly by now, 2 years in, whether people are, you know, getting on with things and self-managing. So we don't want to micromanage anyone, but what I'm saying is that actually contact everybody on an everyday basis, you know, just to check in, just say, hey, how you doing? How's your day? You know, anything you want to chat about, and don't make it about work all of the time. And finding a balance, you know, it might be every other day for your team might not need it, but just to be mindful of the quiet ones.
Okay. Cool, I like that. So let's talk about the future. future of wellness. We go, big question, I know.
Wow.
What's coming next? What are your ideas about kind of how we take this forward, how we evolve it? What's around the corner?
Yeah, I mean, I'm personally involved with an app that has a number of teachers teaching these techniques. So I think the integration of what you do in your company, providing services, whether those are in the form of apps and teachers that can help you in a live situation, and then at the later date, bringing those teachers into your physical workplace so that you've met people, practiced the technique, and then you actually bring them into the workspace itself. And I'm talking about all sorts of activities. They don't need to be, around the yoga breathwork industry. They can be, building up your, do you have a group of people that might want to go running? Do you want to have walking meetings? So the strategy would be to make sure that you have something in place where you can keep that connection going forwards, and then you're building a different culture and a more connected culture.
Okay, interesting. Good. So let's summarize. We've talked about a lot. It's been absolutely fascinating. So I know there's no silver bullets with this one, but what are your top tips? How do people look after themselves better? If you could give people, say, 3 bits of advice, either what you've seen in the past or what's coming next, what should we be doing on maybe even on a daily basis to really make sure we're looking out for ourselves?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's called my daily routines are my toolkit, and that's what I teach as a wellness leader. So I would definitely say to everybody, meditate every day for at least 10 minutes, set the phone timer, sit legs crossed, hands on legs, close your eyes, breathe in for 4, out for 8, and sit absolutely still. That is tip number 1.
Okay.
Number 1. 2, make sure that you keep hydrated throughout the day. So, measure your water content. Everybody's different when it comes to water consumption. So, I would say keep your water, and I mean water, not coffee or tea or sugary drinks. If you're going to have a tea or a coffee, if it's caffeinated, have a drink of water with it, because otherwise these are diuretics and you will be losing fluid, and the brain needs fluid to function. So getting out of the habits of having too much coffee, because that will cause inflammation in the body over time, and you'll get stiffer and stiffer if you're not moving, and movement. So getting up, moving around, saying, okay, well, today's team meeting, we're going to meet at the office, or we're going to meet at the park, or we're going to meet somewhere. So getting up, moving around. So top tips are learn to meditate, and there's someone at the door, typical, which I'm going to have to ignore. So learn to meditate, make sure you're drinking enough water and having some sort of activity where you're moving around. And, I have some funny techniques that I'll do and that I'll teach during meetings where people will get up and move whilst they're in the meeting. That's better when you're in person. I've been teaching for Gucci in Shanghai and Milan a couple of years ago, and they were surprised that it's like, right, everybody, can you get up? Can you take your shoes off? Okay, now we're going to walk around the room. Now we're going to do this and do that. And it really broke the ice. So icebreakers.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Do something different. And not everybody's going to like these things, but I think if you can have some fun with it, whatever that might be, be light with it, be jovial with it, don't make it too heavy, because life and implementations can be long and challenging. So motivate people, drive the energy forwards, manage and lead, and that's my top tips.
So I do have one more question for you, but I'm going to tell you about something we do. It's called an energizer. It's at 11 o'clock Monday, Wednesday and Friday. And it is an icebreaker. So today's energizer was that you had to introduce yourself in a funny way. I can't repeat all of the things that we discussed, but it was very funny, and it was, it's just to make people laugh, get them up, get them ready for the day, make sure that we're kind of being a bit quirky and a bit different. So I wanted to share that one with you. And on that theme, it'd be great to hear what stuff have you done that is funny or is a bit out there that you can tell us about.
Oh yeah, I mean, having fun is top of the list, really. So some of the Prana Kriya techniques that I did with Essentia meant certain exercises where you make very loud noises, so like chopping noises, and it can look a bit like a martial art. So that jumping up and down and making noise allows people to start speaking up. You know, I'm not set up to demonstrate when the camera's too close to me, but the movement and the breath and the sound are all fun techniques to do. I mean, I love the idea of you guys bringing a comedy element in. You know, I think that is a winner all of the time, you know, to engage anyone in conversation and to build that rapport. But yeah, I would say the Kriya exercises, the noisy Kriya exercises, where you're using the breath and movement and repeating movements. So, and they're loud, but maybe you might want to book us to come and do a class for you, and then I'll show you. So.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, well, I can't say no to that. So excellent. Good. All right. So listen, it's been really insightful. Thank you so much for your time and your insights into well-being, a really, really important topic. So I hope people can take lots away from this. I've really enjoyed it. So so thank you very much, Angela. Appreciate it.
You're welcome, Joel. Thank you for the invitation. It's been a pleasure.